Before I start this video and get into what I'm actually going to talk about, I just want to address everything that's going on in America right now regarding the Black Lives Matter movement and the death of George Floyd. It's obviously horrible what happened to him, and I hope that his family and George get the justice that they deserve, and through protesting and signing petitions and all that good stuff, I think that it is possible. I'm gonna be leaving links and resources down below if you guys are interested in signing petitions. There's this like 1 hour video that you can watch, and there's a lot of ads in there, so all the AdSense from that is going towards the Black Lives Matter movement and any charities that like the money needs to be going to most during that time. Even if like you're not able to watch it and just have it in the background muted. At least that's what I did when I first watched it, because I was completing assignments for university, so I didn't have time to sit down and watch an hour-long video including like a minute-long ads. But if that's something you're willing to do and willing to watch, I'd highly recommend it, and any other links and anything else I find will be down below. This video is going to be less serious. I'm just going to be talking about a job I had for a week that I quit. I think that's how you know a job's really bad, if you have to quit after a week. I can't remember exactly when I started. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I quit a week ago. The main thing I noticed when I first started was how kind of like disorganized and rushed everything was. For example, I submitted in my resume. I got a message from the owner and he said, hey, like, when are you free for an interview? And I was like, pretty much any time. And he said, okay, come in like today, this afternoon. And I had plans with my family, and usually with job interviews, they usually wait like a couple of days or like at least the next day. I said, oh, I can't, I'll come in tomorrow. And he's like, okay, cool, see you then. And I went into the job interview, everything was fine. And then he asked me if I wanted to do a trial shift, and I said, sure, when? And he said, now. And I was like, oh fuck, okay. Had the trial shift, everything was okay, except for when I got yelled at for not knowing what tables to carry food out to, even though it was my first day and I didn't know the table numbers and exactly where they went. So if someone said table 40, I'm like, where the fuck is that? And then I'd get yelled at, and I'd be like, okay, so what dish is this? So then I'm not just kind of like plonking down a plate. You know what I mean? I want to be like, here's your fucking T-bone, sir. Obviously not gonna swear at the customer, but I just want to be like, here's your T-bone, sir. But if I didn't know what it was, then I just kept getting yelled at, and I'm like, it's not my fault, it's my first day. And I'm not getting paid for the trial shift. So that sucked, but I was desperate for a job. Don't really know why. I'm doing fine financially, but I think it's just because I was bored and I wanted to do something with my time. And I'm pretty sure on the app it said that I was going to be working like 10-15 hours a week, and I was like, it's perfect, you know. I'm a uni student, so I'm obviously broke and I can't work like 40 hours a week, and we'll get into that. Yeah, I was like 10-15 hours a week, you know, I think I can handle that. But then I ended up working like 10 hours a day. But we'll get into that later. After the job trial, the owner spoke to me. He was like, do you think you're gonna be okay for the job? And I was like, yeah. The job, by the way, was like a waitressing position at a restaurant, and I'd had experience doing that kind of stuff. So like I was pretty okay with it. And he said like, because like I had a job before the whole coronavirus thing, but then I wasn't let go, like I still have a job, but because of the coronavirus, the workplace shut down and they've reopened, but because of JobKeeper in Australia, I'm not eligible for that because I wasn't working there long enough, so I'm not able to go back to work until they like let go of that. I'm just hoping that goes back because I actually like that job. And you know, I didn't have to deal with as much bullshit in like the 2 months that I was at that job as opposed to like the week I was at this one. Like the guy was asking me how much I got paid at the other job, and I told him how much, and it's like actually a lot of money considering it's retail. And he said like, I can't afford that, and I was like, that's fair enough, how about like a lower price? And then he told me he'd probably get back to me, and I didn't hear back from him for a couple of days, so I thought maybe he didn't give me the job because he can't afford me. Whatever. One day I was doing uni work, just, you know, minding my business, and I was actually waiting for a call from another place that I had applied at, and I was really looking forward to that one because it seemed like an actually like really good job, and like the owners were really nice, and it seemed like a place that I could see myself working at, even though it was like, again, kind of like a restaurant kitchen hand kind of position. The people that you work with really make a difference. So I was waiting for a call from them. Spoiler alert, I didn't get a call from them. I didn't end up getting the job, but that's fine. So I got a call and I thought it was the other place, but I answered it and I was like, hello, you know, and like the owner from this place said, hey, can you come in now? And I was like, I can come in about an hour, because, you know, the bus routes weren't leave my house for a while. And he said, no, it's gonna be too late. And I was like, well, shit, okay. I just said okay, and then he's like, see you then. And I was like, I didn't exactly say yes, but whatever. So I like ran downstairs, just grabbed black clothes, went upstairs, got dressed, ordered a DD, which doesn't sound as fun as like Uber, but you know, it's more ethical. This job ended up costing me more money than I was paying. So ordered a DD, got there, and then just kind of got stuck into it. Everything was going fine, and then at the end of the shift, the owner said, I can only afford to pay you $15 an hour, which, by the way, the minimum wage in Australia is $19.49. So, you know, that's illegal. I don't know why I stayed. So he said, I'm gonna pay you $15 an hour, and I was just like, okay. I don't know why I stayed. I genuinely don't. I was there for about a week, and I was working every single day. Sometimes it was only kind of like dinner kind of shifts from like 5 to 9. Other days it was like 11 till 9, which was all day, and there was no roster because there was only 3 waitresses. I said that weird. There were only 3 waitresses, including myself, and a couple days after I started, one of the other girls, unfortunately, was admitted to hospital. I'm not sure why, but I hope she's okay. Another thing that kind of ticked me off about the owner was he was talking about the girl in hospital. Again, I don't know why she's in there, it's not really my business, but I overheard him while I was like making him a drink. Later on that night there were like no customers, and he's like, can you make me a drink? And I'm like, you know, whatever. I was making him a drink and he was talking to the other waitress about how like the other girl was in hospital, and maybe I'm missing out on context or something, but I just heard him say like, oh, she just like gets depressed because she doesn't have a boyfriend. And I was like, mental health is much more complicated than that. I don't know if her being depressed was the reason she went to hospital. Again, not my business, but as someone who A, has struggled with mental health, B, is currently studying social work and wants to help out people with mental health issues, and third, someone with more than half a brain cell, would understand that mental health is way more complex than that. Like, sure, maybe a relationship might affect someone's mental health, but there's a lot more factors involved in that. Like, no one's just like, I don't have a boyfriend, I'm gonna try and kill myself or whatever. There's usually a lot more going on, like, for example, working in a shitty job where you're not appreciated and you're overworked and you're underpaid. Anyway, so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then it's kind of unrelated, but after that, he just looked at me and went, do you have a boyfriend? And I was like, no. And kind of just like moved on with my life. And I mean, I need to make it clear, he wasn't like hitting on me or anything. I was just like, not in a relationship. Relationships aren't really for me right now. Sorry if this video is me just waffling, but I've got a lot to say. There was also no roster because it was only like me and 2 other girls. So I'd only hear about like what hours I was working like at the end of my shift. I'd finish my shift and then the owner would say like, okay, come in at like 11, finish at 9. And like on top of this, not like exactly knowing my hours, I had like university assignments coming up and I was pretty on top of it until I got the job, because before I like, you know, I had a schedule of like, you know, what I had to do and roughly like when I was gonna be done with them and everything. I was pretty good at handling my time, but when I'd have to get up at like 9 o'clock and then I'd end up getting home at like 10, I wouldn't really have time to do university. Like, I'd do like a tiny bit in the morning and then I'd come home during lunch, and if I had any spare time, I'd do like a tiny bit before I had to go back to work, because I'd get given like 2-3 hours for lunch, and I'd usually come home for that because I'm a homebody. I like being at home as much as possible if possible. Low-key got in a rut after, like, during coronavirus, because I was like, oh, get to just stay home. But I couldn't really structure my day around it, and it just kind of like messed with my head a bit, and it kind of like fucked with me, because I was like, I'm gonna fail my classes because I don't know when I'm not working, or like can't really structure my hours and stuff like that. So that kind of stressed me out a little bit. Also, during this time in New South Wales, the social distancing guidelines for restaurants was only 10 people allowed in a restaurant. I mean, this restaurant is pretty big, but also, like, I was working one Saturday night and there was like at least 40 people inside, and I'm like, this is clearly not social distancing. Like, we'd have a table of people and then like the next table would be empty, so then like social distancing, and then next table would have a couple people and then that table would be empty, and so on. The other girl, before she went to hospital, she was like working the door and like she had to turn people away because there were too many people inside, and the owner was like, no, what are you doing? Like, let them in. We need the money. And I was just thinking, oh yeah, you know, when you cop that sweet $10,000 fine for not adhering to social distancing guidelines and laws, I think that's gonna be worse than not getting a couple $100 from people wanting to eat food. Something I've been saying ever since we've been like opening up stuff, like recently we've opened up like bars and clubs and stuff. I'm not gonna go for a while, not until like the numbers go to zero for like a substantial period of time. So they reopened, you know, after coronavirus, which is fine, but if you've only got, before I was there, if you've only got 2 waitresses, it's probably not a good idea if like you can't handle it, if you can't handle that many people. And like, I understand wanting to make money, I get it, like it's a financially difficult time for business owners everywhere, but just because you can reopen doesn't mean you should like ease yourself into it, get new staff before doing that. Anyway, where was I? As well as not adhering to social distancing guidelines, they were technically breaking the law by allowing me to serve alcohol even though I did not have a valid RSA in New South Wales. I didn't have a valid RSA in New South Wales. So for context, from the start of 2018 until the start of this year, I lived in Queensland, specifically Brisbane. And not that that's relevant, but you know, miss Brisbane a lot. So much better. My throat is cured. I lied. So I obtained my RSA while living in Queensland, and every state is different with its RSA laws, and I think in every state except for New South Wales, if you have an RSA from anywhere else within Australia, you can serve alcohol within bars and stuff. So for example, if I got my RSA in Victoria and then I moved to Tasmania, not sure why anyone would want to do that, but anyway, so I moved to Tasmania and I get a job in like a restaurant or a bar or a club or something, I'm allowed to use my RSA from Victoria in Tasmania, but in New South Wales that's not a possibility. You can only use your RSA if you got it in New South Wales, or if you do a bridging course if you got an RSA in other states within Australia. And I did not do that bridging course, so I was illegally serving cocktails and drinks and stuff, which isn't a problem for me. It's a problem for the business. Now we're gonna get into the meat of why I actually quit. So the day before I was thinking of quitting, I was talking to the other waitress and I was just giving her a heads up saying like, hey, you know, like when I get my next paycheck, I'm gonna quit. And she was like, why? And I was like, oh, because like I'm not getting paid, I'm really stressed about university, blah blah blah. And then like I started getting like a little bit teary, and I hate crying in front of people, and then she noticed this and she like brought me outside and she just like kept talking to me and like trying to assure me that like everything was okay. And I was like, he's paying me below minimum wage, and she was like, okay, that's not right, but he will back pay you. And because she also owns a business of her own, she was like, it's a hard time for him, it's a hard time for me as well, but he will pay you back. And I was like, okay, you know. And at that point I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna stay and just wait it out. But spoiler alert, I did not wait it out. She was talking to me, she's like, you're a nice girl, I can work around you, you know, if you ever need a day off for university, let me know and I can like cover for you and stuff. And she was being really sweet, and she said that the reason there was no roster was because like we were the only 2 people working, so there was really no point, but she assured me that once like more people started working that there would be a roster. I don't know, because I quit, hopefully that happened. The owner came outside as well and he saw that I was crying. He was like, why are you crying? I'm just thinking, because I'm being underpaid and you're kind of rude to me whenever I do something wrong. And I I hate it here, and I need a roster so that I can sort out university and all this stuff. And I need to stress this right now. He's a nice guy. Like, the owner, he's a lovely guy. He just isn't the greatest at being a boss, at being an owner. It's just kind of unfortunate. And he was like, okay, yeah, like I'll pay you back as soon as I can. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I started telling him, okay, so I need Sunday off because I have an assignment due Monday, and then I also need like the day off on Thursday because I have an assignment due Friday. And then he kind of started laughing, and I was really confused as to why he was laughing. I'm still confused. Like, sorry that I need 2 days off so then I can finish some assignments so that I don't fail my class and that I can like won't have to redo them. Like, university is important to me. I know that university isn't for everyone. It wasn't for me the first time I went, but I really like what I'm studying now, and I hope I continue to like it. I just found it weird. I'm like, sorry that I need like 2 days off for a place that only advertised like, I can't exactly remember, but it was around like 15 hours. And I have on my phone written down for like 4 days in a row that I worked, like the 4 days before I quit. I worked 28 hours, something like that, and I wasn't even halfway through the week yet. So, and then the owner let me go home early because I was crying, and he was like, okay, just like go home early, I'll take care of everything. But then like my bus didn't end up leaving for like another half hour, so I was just like sat at the bus stop in the dark for like half an hour with my fucking 7-Eleven $1 coffee. You know, I think I got the mega one for $3. Odd flex, but whatever. And I was just like blasting Hoodie Allen, trying to hype me up, make me happy, and it worked. If anyone ever like saw me like or drove past me or whatever, they'd probably think, oh damn, she's vibing, she's having a great time, even though I was like hysterically crying like an hour before that. So anyway, came into work the next day, worked the kind of like lunchtime shift. Everything was going fine. You know, I had some lovely interactions with customers. There was this one that almost made me cry about how nice it was. There were these 3 people that came in and they ordered food, and they were really nice. Like, they actually treated me like I was human, like asking me questions, you know, like, has it been busy today? Like, what's it been like since, you know, coronavirus and stuff? And I was talking back to them, and, you know, like not talking back as in being like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like engaging with them and like answering any questions they had, and like just being nice to them because they were nice to me. And I had like other nice interactions as well. Like, I made a coffee for someone and I was like, hey, like, let me know if it's bad because I haven't made a coffee in a while. But she was like, it's perfect. I'm like, oh. Anyway, so like the people like really nice to me and everything, and you know, I'd like talk to them sometimes if I was walking past. I'm like, hi, how's everything going? You know, just like engaging in conversation and stuff. And if like I couldn't do anything for them, like if there was no like our beer tap wasn't working, so I couldn't pour them a beer, but they were like really nice about it, and like other people are kind of snobby about it. It's like, it's not my fault the tap's broken, okay? They were really nice to me, and you know, eating their food, whatever. Anyway, they go to pay and I'm like at the counter, like, you know, doing their payment and everything. And if you're not from Australia, just a bit of context, we don't really tip here. Like, it's very rare. Like, the only time I ever really tip is if I'm like at a restaurant or something and they give me back like 5 cents change and there's a tip jar. I'll usually just put it in there. But it's not a big thing here like it is in America. Like, no one tips. We just, you know, pay our workers minimum wage. At least we should, but we don't in some places. Anyway, so the guy goes to pay, he pays on card, everything's going fine, and he said, do you guys do tips on card? And I'm like, I think so, but like, I'm new, I've never done it before, I don't know. And he said, like, does the money go to you? And I said, to be honest, I don't know, I don't think so. And then he said like, oh, don't worry about it then. And like, he didn't have any cash on him, so he couldn't give me money. And like, I don't really care about that. Like, it wasn't about the money, it was just that like, this guy that like didn't know me was willing to like do something nice for me, even though he'd like never met me before, and I just thought that was really sweet, and I still think about it a lot. So anyway, I went home for like 3 hours to just, I like literally only had time to like eat some lunch and then come back, and everything was going fine until it was kind of like a landslide of things going down. It first started about 5 minutes before I was meant to start work. I started at 5, and at 4:55 I got a message from the owner saying, when are you coming? And I was literally across the street, so I just messaged him back. I was like, literally across the road. I was like, okay, that's a bit weird, but you know, like, whatever. I'm not meant to start till 5. He's never like cared about this before. I usually get in like a couple minutes early. Like, if I start at 5, I'll get in at like 4:58 or something, and it's never really a problem. And like, I could see him across the street like talking to someone. I don't know who he was talking to, but if it was if it was a customer, good, but if not, you take care of the customers. It's like, it's your restaurant. I thought that was weird. Anyway, I got in, just started working, doing whatever, and then like half an hour later, there was a girl that came in for a trial shift and I had to train her. Again, I didn't really care about it, but it's like more like I'm new, so I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm like, I felt weird like training someone else. But like, she was really sweet and she kept telling me that I was doing a good job, and I was like, no, you're doing a good job. Like, we're just both like complimenting each other. It was like real wholesome. And yeah, like the other waitress was in, it was all a good time, and I was meant to be leaving early that night because she said, I've left early, you know, every week you can go home early. And I was like, sweet. So everything was going fine, not adhering to social distancing guidelines. There were like 20 to 30 people in the restaurant, and it was around, I got a text at like 6 o'clock, I think, from the owner saying like, hey, like there's a customer at the counter ready to pay. And I didn't get that text because it was in my back pocket. Like, I'm not going around work with my phone out just like because that just looks unprofessional. So I had it in my pocket and I didn't hear it. And also it's like, when there's a lot of people in there, it's kind of loud, so I'm not going to be paying attention. I'm mostly just like running around making sure everyone's okay and like giving them their food and stuff and making drinks and also training this girl. And I was doing fine until about like an hour after, when there were two people sitting down, like a guy and a girl. I don't know their relationship with each other. I wasn't really paying attention and I couldn't really tell. I had other priorities. So about an hour after they sat down and like they had their order taken or whatever, the guy like found me at the bar because that's where I was, and he said like, hey, like I'm so sorry, but like we're leaving, like my food hasn't come. And I was like, oh, like when did you guys order? And he's like, whenever you guys saw me. And I was just thinking like, I don't remember when you guys came in, like I haven't really been checking on the time. But on the outside I was like, okay, like I'm so sorry I had to go through that, you know, like I'm so sorry about that. And I genuinely was, because that's so shitty, especially since people sat down after them and they'd gotten their food before them. And just as they were leaving, the owner was talking to me. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, they're leaving, they're angry because they hadn't received their food. And I was kind of angry for them. And he was like, but their food's here. And I'm like, well, they're leaving. So then like the owner chased them out, like sweet talked them, I guess. I don't know. So they sat down, I brought their food over to them and I walked away, did other stuff, I can't really remember. Then I came back because I noticed the guy like was waving his hand at me. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he said like I'm so sorry, like I'm so sorry, but like this isn't what I ordered. Like I think he like ordered the grilled chicken, but he got schnitzel instead. And I was like I started getting a little bit teary. I don't know why. I was really stressed. Also at this point the other waitress left early. I don't know why, but she just left, leaving me alone with this other girl who like didn't really know anything. So it's like I had to do the work for like 5 people, and I don't do well under stress, especially in like a fast-paced environment. Like if there were other people there it would have been fine, but because I was alone it didn't help me at all. So I started getting like a little bit teary. I was like, okay, like I'm so sorry, I'll like go to the kitchen and like get them to make a new one for you. And like he was really nice to me. I need to stress that, like he was really nice to me. And I don't know, I just kind of like felt his anger because like I hated working there, and it's easy to like put on a facade that like everything's good and like everything's fine when all the customers are happy, but like when you see a customer's like angry or upset and they're like mimicking how you're feeling on the inside, it's kind of like a reality check, I guess. I started like getting like a little bit sad. I went to the kitchen. I was like, hey, like I'm so sorry, but like this isn't what the guy ordered. He wants grilled chicken instead of the schnitzel. And like I went back outside, whatever, and then another table was like, hey, I'm sorry, like we ordered like 3 sauces and we haven't gotten them yet. And I was like, okay, like which sauces did you order? And then she told me which sauces, and I went to like scoop them up, like get them for her at the back. The sauces weren't already like pre-packaged, like you kind of just had to like, I don't know, squeeze the sauce from the bottle and like put it in a cup, like not like a cup, but like a tiny little dish. Like it's not that hard, but it's just like when you're like the only person there, everything kind of adds up. And there were like lots of tables, and it felt like every time it went out there were at least like 2 tables that were like asking for stuff. And you know, everyone was like nice to me and everything, but it was just like really, really stressful. And I think my anxiety kind of like kicked into overgear because I have an anxiety disorder, and I think that place didn't really help it. It just kind of like exacerbated it, if that's even the right word. I'm not smart enough to use those words. So I went to like get this sauce for this lady, and I think I like got like the 2 sauces that like were in the bottle, and I just like squeezed them. And then I went to like with gravy and stuff, they're not like in sauce bottles, they're kind of like you have to ladle them out. And I was in the middle of doing that, and then I just like started crying. So I like went to the bathroom and cried for like 5 minutes. I'm laughing through the pain, but like at that time I was just like really sad and stressed. I cried for like 5 minutes, and then I like collected myself and then went outside. And I went to like back to like get this lady like her sauce or whatever. And then I don't know, I just got stressed again because the owner told me something else to do. I can't remember what he told me to do, because something that they don't tell you about anxiety is that like you forget stuff. My theory is that it kind of like, so then you can like block out anything like painful or anything like that. But also like sometimes in job interviews someone will be like, so what qualifications do you have? And then I just like forget like any place I've ever worked ever, and then it's not a fun time. So then the owner was like, okay, I think what he said was that the table that I was talking about before that ordered the grilled chicken but got the schnitzel instead, he was like, that table needs drinks. And I was just like, I was like thinking, why don't you go do it? Like if you have the time to like try and find me and like tell me that they need drinks, and like you do it. So then I started crying again. I was in the bathroom for like 10 minutes this time, and at this time I kept like on the Opal app, which is like transport. I just kept refreshing the Opal app to see like when my next bus was leaving, and I saw that it was like half an hour away, and I was like, fuck me. No, that was the first time I was crying, because I was like, I just want to leave early. So I just kept refreshing it because I didn't want the owner like to try and find me and like convince me to stay or whatever when I was like miserable. So cried for like 10 minutes this time, and then he said like this table needs drinks and the other table needs a dessert, and I'm like, fine, whatever. But then I started crying again, and then the third time around I went to the back of the kitchen to finish up like scooping the lady's sauce, and then the owner was like, don't worry about that, like stop doing that, make the dessert. And I started crying again, and then I collected myself barely. All these times I barely collected myself. I was just like, if I can kind of like stay under the radar for a bit, I'll be fine. But it's hard to stay under the radar when you're like the only worker responsible for 30 people. So that just was not a fun time for me. So I went outside. I saw that there were 2 people at the counter waiting to pay. So the first transaction went all good. Like that table, you know, they were nice to me. Like everyone at the table was nice. Even the kids were like really well mannered and like reserved and like really sweet. And that like reflects well on the parents, because like, I don't know, they were just like such a nice table, and that whole transaction went well. And I think my face is still red from crying, and I think the lady might have noticed, but like at that point I didn't really care. I was just like, I just want to get this day over with. And then the next table, that was the table I was getting the sauce for, they went to pay, and usually before someone pays I'll like print off like an itemized bill of like everything they ordered, like I don't know, like T-bone and then like dessert and drinks and all that kind of stuff, garlic bread and whatever. And I like printed it off, and I was like, does this look like everything that you guys like ordered? And this is so stupid, but they said we didn't end up getting our sauce. And then I started crying again, because I was like, the owner told me to not worry, and I interpreted that in my head as he sorted it out, he got the sauce for them, and he wants me to focus on other stuff. The main reason I wanted to do the sauce was A, so that I could make the customers happy, and B, so that then I could kind of like stay in my own lane and not really talk to anyone, because I don't like people seeing me upset, and I like, after I'm like, if I'm in an emotional state, I just want to be like left alone for a bit, so that I can kind of like breathe and like gather my thoughts and like stop crying. But then she was like, we didn't get our sauce, and then I just like walked away crying, and like I felt so bad because they were so nice, but I just couldn't do it. And then I went to the bathroom again. Like the people in there probably just saw me like go into the bathroom for 2 minutes and then like walk out, and probably like, what the fuck, shouldn't wash your hands. I'm like, yeah, because I was crying. But I kept refreshing like the app until it said like, you know, bus leaving in a minute, and I was like, okay. So I like pretty much like ran out of there. I didn't like run, but I was like promptly speed walking out of there, and then waited for my bus for like 2 minutes. Felt like such a long 2 minutes, because the bus stop was like pretty much right outside the restaurant, so like the owner could have easily like seen me and then like ran out and like tried to talk me into like not leaving. But I was just like, I mean, like I know in hindsight I should have like spoken to him and like, hey, like I'm sorry, but like either like I have to leave home early or I'm quitting or whatever. But he was with customers, the same customers that like I walked out crying on when I left. But I didn't exactly want to wait, and I felt miserable, and I had a lot going on in my life at that time. So as soon as my bus arrived, tapped on the little Opal card, and then sat down, bus drove off, texted the owner, said I quit. And then I blocked his number, which I know is so petty, but it's just like what I needed to do in that moment. And I kind of wish I could have been like stronger about it, but I just didn't want to be like persuaded into staying, because I can be like easily swayed like that. It's a major personality flaw and I wish I didn't have it, and I am working on it, but I just didn't want to hear it. I don't know what the point of this is. I guess it's that the main point I want to make, I think the main reason I left was because I'm being paid below minimum wage and this is unfair, and everything else on top of it just made the situation a whole lot worse. But I think if I was getting paid what I was entitled to, it wouldn't have been as horrendous for me to deal with mentally. So I think the point I'm trying to make is stand up for yourself when it comes to jobs, and like if you're getting underpaid, tell them that you're going to leave unless they pay you what you're entitled to, because business owners and managers and stuff, they need workers more than you need a job. I promise you that much. I wasn't even desperate for money. I don't know why I stayed. Just don't let people like push you over financially. If you're getting paid below minimum wage, don't take it. Here's one silver lining. I finished all my assignments and my mental health is a whole lot better because I'm no longer like stress crying all the time, which is fun. I was only there for a week, but it was like the longest week of my life. Yeah. Thank you for listening to me ramble for half an hour. See you later.